Hi guys. How are you all? Welcome to my channel. So without wasting any time, let's start the video. And that's why she silently endured everything I said, every taunt, while I constantly taunted her about her weight and humiliated her. Only a week had passed since our wedding when there was a wedding in the family. My aunt's son's wedding was fixed. They specifically invited all of us, and particularly told my parents to bring their daughter-in-law. My parents were ready to go to the wedding, but I absolutely couldn't attend the wedding with that fat cow there. The whole family was supposed to gather, and even those who didn't know about it would find out. Everyone would make fun of me, but my mother and father forced me to go, saying that no one would say anything. They said I should go with them, and anyway, I would be spending most of my time with the men, and my mother would go with the women, so no one would say anything to me. I should go for my father's sake, otherwise, he would be angry with me because his sister had specifically invited both of us, and I had refused to go. Fearing my father's anger, I agreed and went to the wedding with them. But once I got there, I intensely realized that I had made such a big mistake in my life. Seeing my aunt's son's wife made me even angrier at my own wife. They had found a very beautiful girl for their son, and everyone was praising their match. On the other hand, all the close relatives were laughing at me, saying that they didn't know I liked fat girls. I angrily left from there. My mother and father came the next day, and from that day onwards, I started tormenting my wife even more. Her obesity was the biggest problem and the biggest trouble, so I thought I would fix her in my own way. The work she should have done before the marriage and didn't, I would make her do it in my own way. I strictly forbade her from eating more than one meal a day so that she could at least lose some weight. As soon as I woke up in the morning, I would lock her in the bathroom and sit down to a breakfast with my mother and father. I would tell them that she was sleeping, so I didn't think it was appropriate to wake her up. My mother and father would be happy that I was taking care of my wife, but no one knew that the poor girl was locked in the bathroom, hungry and thirsty. I would do the same thing with her at night too. I would lock her in the room and leave, and I had strictly forbidden her from telling anyone in the house about it, without considering what her condition must be like from hunger. I started treating her like this every day, and she also didn't tell anyone about it because of her fear of me. Days passed like this until one day I received a phone call from home, and what I heard completely shook me. It was my father's call. He was very worried. He told me to come to the hospital immediately. When I reached the hospital he had mentioned, I found out that my mother had fallen down the stairs and was injured. My mother was quite badly hurt, so she had to be taken to the hospital. She stayed in the hospital for 2 days, and then we brought her home. After coming home, my mother was confined to bed. And after that, my wife started handling all the household responsibilities. She had managed the house well before too, but my mother used to help her with the chores. But now, because of my mother's illness, she was handling everything alone. I also took a few days off from my office so that I could take care of my mother. My wife worked all day doing household chores and took great care of my mother. When I saw all this, I was quite surprised, and somewhere in my heart, I also thought that my mother was right. This girl was indeed very well mannered and good. When my aunt found out about this, she came to visit my mother. I was also present with my mother at that time. My aunt started crying and telling her story, saying that she had married off her son and brought her daughter-in-law home for this very reason. She had brought her here thinking she would manage the house, but little did she know that everything would turn upside down. She said that she had been ill for the past month, but despite that, she had managed everything in the house herself, while her daughter-in-law, whom everyone had praised for being very beautiful, was now a source of great trouble for her. She started saying to Amma did absolutely the right thing by choosing a girl based on her goodness, not her beauty. That's why Amma is so peaceful today. Look how my wife manages everything. She's always busy serving Amma. And then there was that other daughter-in-law, who was beautiful to look at, but wouldn't lift a finger, saying her hands would get spoiled. What's the use of such beauty if a woman doesn't know how to manage a house? Hearing her words, I fell into deep thought. I couldn't decide what was right and what was wrong. My aunt went back to her house. Everything in the house returned to normal. My holidays ended, and I started going to the office. Despite all this, I still hadn't given my wife the respect she deserved, but now I neither bothered her nor taunted her about her weight. After coming home from the office at night, I would spend most of my time with Amma, so I didn't interact much with my wife. Time passed like this. Then new people came to live in our neighborhood. The new people who came to live in that house were just a mother and daughter, so they asked me for help in setting up their house. At first, I might have refused, but then, after thinking for a while, I helped them. Whenever they needed anything, they would ask me, and I would go to their house. Their daughter was extremely beautiful, and before I knew it, I started liking her. I, who had softened a little towards my wife and was impressed by her service, was once again made to think by this new girl that there is nothing more important than beauty in this world. Then I started getting involved with that girl, finding excuses to go to their house, while her mother was against it. She didn't have any restrictions. She would leave in the morning and return home in the evening. She probably worked in an office, while her daughter was alone at home. Whenever I felt like it, I would go to their house, talk a lot with the girl, spend time with her, and even take her out of the house with me. Then, gradually, she started going out with me more often. That's when I realized how many expenses that girl had. She would go to expensive parlors almost every day, she went to the gym early in the morning, and she would go shopping every week, buying the most expensive clothes. And I had to spend money on her, even though I didn't want to, because now if she went out with me and wanted to buy something, I couldn't refuse her. And then there was my wife. Since we got married, I hadn't spent a single rupee on her. One day I started thinking about how many expenses women have. My monthly salary would be gone in 15 days. Things had become a bit difficult, but I couldn't do anything about it now because I had professed my love for that girl, and she loved me too. My parents were quite worried about this, because earlier my salary was more than enough for the whole month, and now we were very short of money. What was the reason for this? I wasn't even saving money for anything. But I didn't mention to anyone where I was spending my time these days. That girl would ask me for some expensive thing or another almost every day. Now I was getting fed up with her demands because her expenses were too high, and my salary wasn't enough to cover them. I had even taken loans from a few friends for her, but I didn't know how I would repay those loans now. Earlier, I was living a very carefree life. I didn't have to worry about repaying anyone's debt, nor did I worry about money because my salary was enough to run the house comfortably. But now I had to account for every single rupee, and I was constantly worried about not having enough money. Then, before I knew it, the girl asked me for an expensive gift, so I clearly told her that I didn't have the money. At this, the girl started arguing with me, saying that if I couldn't fulfill her demands, I should tell her now, so that she wouldn't get trapped in a marriage and then have me tell her after the wedding that I didn't have any money. She said she wouldn't tolerate that. Even though I was quite ill that day, she didn't show any consideration for my health. She told me that she should receive her gift by tomorrow. Troubled and exhausted, I returned home, wondering where I would get the money from. But I was home now. My wife was worried when she saw my condition. She immediately came to me. I went to my room and lay down. When she came after me, she sensed that I wasn't feeling well. Then I suddenly fell asleep. When I woke up, I saw my wife sleeping sitting beside me. It was morning. She had stayed awake all night changing my bandages because I had a very high fever during the night. I was feeling much better now. As soon as I woke up, she also woke up and sat up. This meant she hadn't slept properly either. Seeing me awake, she immediately asked how I was feeling. I was very surprised because I had never taken care of her, ever. She didn't give me her place, but even so, did she really care about me, or was she just fulfilling her responsibility? I couldn't understand. Seeing the worry on my face, she asked me, and for some reason, I told her about my problem, that I needed money. A little while later, she brought something out of the cupboard. She said these were some pieces of jewelry that her mother had made for her a long time ago. They were quite expensive and heavy. She suggested I sell them and fulfill my needs. She didn't even ask why I needed the money, and without any questions, she placed all her jewelry in front of me. So, did my problem affect her so much that she gave me her mother's memento? Her own jewelry, which no woman would ever be willing to give away. I left the jewelry there and went out of the room. I didn't come back home the whole day. I borrowed money from a friend. After that, I bought a gift for that girl, something she would like. The next day I was very happy because I had decided that I would give her this gift and propose marriage to her. I couldn't delay this any longer. Somewhere in my heart, there was a fear that my wife might take her place in my heart, and before that happened, I wanted to remove her from my life and marry the girl of my choice. That evening, as soon as I entered the girl's house, her mother wasn't home, but as soon as I entered, I heard the voices of two people talking. I thought maybe her mother had come back early. It was also good that her mother was home. I would talk about marriage in front of her mother because almost 4 months had passed since this relationship began. I didn't want to delay any longer. I was walking step by step, while the voices that I had heard faintly before were now becoming clearer. Then, before I could think that I should go back home because the mother and daughter were spending time together, the voice I heard stopped me in my tracks. One of those two voices was the girl's, while the other voice wasn't a woman's, it was a man's. This meant that I knew that whoever she was with wasn't her mother, so who was she talking to? Following this thought, instead of turning back, I walked forward, towards the room from where the voices were coming. As soon as I opened the door, the sight before me shook me to my core. The girl was with another man, in his arms, laughing and talking with him. I couldn't believe my eyes. I had risked so much for this girl, and she was betraying me. At the sound of the door opening, they both looked at me. I expected the girl to be embarrassed, to apologize, and offer some explanation, but nothing of the sort happened. There was no shame or distress on her face. Instead, she told me that I should have informed her before coming. If I had told her, I wouldn't have had to see all this. And now I should leave. I couldn't tolerate it anymore. When I moved towards her, wondering how she could betray me like this, the girl said that she hadn't betrayed me at all. This was her life, she could live it however she wanted. Besides, she had many expenses. If I couldn't cover her expenses, then I had no right to question her. The beauty I was so infatuated with required a lot of money to maintain, and that money was spent by the men who benefited from her beauty, who appreciated her beauty. And she didn't want to have any relationship with me. I, who had spent everything I had on her expenses in just a few months and was now penniless, how could I possibly afford her expenses for the rest of my life? Every man wants a beautiful girl as a wife, but they are unaware that maintaining that beauty requires a lot of money, which they are completely unwilling to spend. But they still want a beautiful wife, even though they can't even afford to spend a few pennies. And now it's better for me to leave. After hearing the girl's words, I truly realized that everything she was saying was true. He would constantly taunt his wife about being overweight, telling her that she wasn't beautiful like other girls. He would say, "Have I ever spent any money on her? You have to spend money to maintain beauty, the way that girl used to spend millions of rupees on herself. I never spent a single rupee on my wife, so how could I compare her to other girls? Yet, my wife respected me so much, she loved me so much. She never asked me for anything, she was even ready to give me everything she had. She was taking care of my house, and then there was this other girl. This girl didn't appreciate my true love. I wasted so much money and time on her, and in the end, this girl kicked me out of her house, saying I wasn't worthy of her. I came back home, and finally, 6 months after my marriage, I realized that there's a huge difference between a woman outside the home and a wife at home. It doesn't matter how beautiful the women outside are, but for a wife, a man should choose a woman one should choose a partner who will stand by them through thick and thin. One shouldn't be influenced by a girl's beauty and include her in their life, but rather consider her character and virtues before making a decision about their life partner. And my mother had made the absolutely right decision. I understood this much later, while my wife had already started trying to make herself beautiful for my sake. She had lost a lot of weight, and I was very happy to know that she cared so much about my happiness. That other girl had opened my eyes. Now I had returned to my wife, forever. Whatever she was like, I accepted her. She didn't need to do anything, she was beautiful just the way she was, and I loved her unconditionally. I accepted her wholeheartedly. Then, when I asked her why she tolerated everything I did, she said that first and foremost, I was her husband, and secondly, she loved me, which is why she listened to everything I said silently. She was confident that I would return to her one day, and her faith proved true. I returned to my wife. I started loving her. We both began living a happy and beautiful life. Now I had stopped chasing after beauty. I had understood that beauty is nothing but an illusion. Thanks for watching, my dear friends. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.